Today, we're talking about a new law in the UK that's supposed to make the internet safer for kids. And, that sounds great on the surface. But what if the real price of that safety is the internet as we know it, or at least the small, independent parts of it that so many of us love? Seriously, just think about it for a second. That niche forum you post on, that little community blog, maybe a small creator's page you follow. What if one day you typed in the address and poof, it was just gone? Well, this isn't some far-off hypothetical. For thousands of small website owners, this is a very real possibility. And it's all because of a new piece of legislation called the Online Safety Act. So let's unpack what's actually going on here. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with what the law actually demands. Then we'll get into the tough choices it's forcing on site owners. After that, we'll do the math on the costs, and trust me, it's surprising. We'll also cover the hidden burdens. And finally, look at the impossible spot this puts small online communities in. Okay, so let's dive right in. What is the big deal with this new law? What is it actually asking websites to do? Everything, and I mean everything, comes down to this one phrase: highly effective age assurance. Basically, it means the old days of just ticking a box that says, yep, I'm over 18, are officially over. The UK's regulator now wants sites to prove a user's age using some pretty serious technology. And right here, this quote just nails the problem. For the giants, the Googles and Metas of the world, this is just another business expense. They can handle it. But for the little guys, this single rule could be an extinction-level event. So if you're running a small website, how are you supposed to actually do this? Well, you've got options, but they look less like a helpful toolbox and a lot more like a menu where every single dish is something you really don't want to eat. All right, option number one is the big one. It's the most secure. You ask your users to prove their age with a government ID, kind of like showing a bouncer your driver's license to get into a club. Now, this is super accurate for sure, but there's a huge trade-off. I mean, put yourself in the user's shoes. Are you really going to upload a scan of your passport just to join a small hobby forum? Probably not. The friction is massive, there are huge privacy questions, and the cost, up to £1 for every single user, adds up incredibly fast. Okay, next up is something a little more futuristic. Using AI to guess someone's age just by looking at their face through a camera. This one is way cheaper and definitely faster for the user. But it's not foolproof. The AI can get it wrong, especially with people who are right around that 18 or 19-year-old mark. And of course, there are some pretty serious debates about whether we should be collecting biometric data like this in the first place. The third common method relies on a pretty simple fact. Here in the UK, you have to be 18 to get your own credit card. Per user, this can be the cheapest option. We're talking just a few pence per check. The problem? Not every adult has a credit card, and a lot of people are, pretty understandably, nervous about typing their financial details into a small website they've never heard of. So, it's a solution that can lock out perfectly legitimate adult users. So, we've looked at those per-user fees, and, on their own, they might not sound like a lot. But this is where we get to the really scary part. This is where we do the math. Let's just take that cheaper facial estimation method. 25 pence. For one single user, that's nothing, right? It's pocket change. But of course, websites don't have just one user. And just look at how quickly this blows up. To verify just 1,000 members, that's already a few £100. For a small community of 10,000 people, you are suddenly looking at a bill for £2,500, and that's just to check everyone one time. And believe it or not, that's not even the whole story. What people often forget are all the hidden costs. There are one-time setup fees, monthly minimums you have to pay no matter what, and potentially thousands of pounds in developer costs just to get the system working on your site. For someone running a website as a hobby out of their own pocket, it's impossible. And to really put this in perspective, even a large site ran the numbers and figured their monthly bill would be around £500,000. £500,000! And they decided that cost was, in their words, not feasible. So if it's not feasible for them, what chance does a small community forum have? But the real cost of all this, it's not just about money. It's not something you can see on an invoice. It fundamentally changes the entire experience of being online. This right here shows the fundamental shift. The internet that many of us grew up with was built on this idea of quick, easy, often anonymous signups. It was open. The new model, It requires ID scans, data sharing, a ton of friction, turning these once open communities into gated ones. And this is the human cost. The owner of a really popular UK cycling forum called LFGSS, he said that these rules would completely destroy the very thing that made his community special. It was a safe, open place for people to connect, to reduce loneliness, and to help each other through tough times. Which brings us to the final, really stark choice. If you're running a small website in the UK right now, you are well and truly caught between a rock and a hard place. When you boil it down, you've really only got 3 paths you can take. You can try to pay up, investing thousands and just hoping your users don't all leave because of the hassle. You can do what that cycling forum did and just shut the whole thing down. Or you can block all access from the UK, basically cutting yourself off from the very community you were built to serve. There are no good options on that list. Not one. So at the end of the day, we're left with this massive question. In this well-intentioned mission to create a safer internet, are we accidentally building a version where only the biggest, richest companies can afford to exist? A web where there's no more room for the small, the independent, the creative communities that, let's be honest, make the internet such a special place to begin with. It's definitely something to think about.